I'm Dan Rosenberg,
And I'm Stephanie Lang.
and we'd like to welcome you to 11 Minutes with Octane 11, a B2B marketing mini podcast where we talk with experts in B2B marketing about real life challenges and solutions in this complicated space in just 11 minutes. Because no one has time to listen to long form podcasts, least of all B2B marketers who are using more tools than ever and are under more pressure than ever to deliver breakthrough messaging and business impact. Today, we're extremely excited to be talking with Jeremy Kagan, an expert in digital marketing who has deep experience in this space as a company builder, and he's now bringing his expertise to the masses as an adjunct professor at Columbia Business School and as a VC at Textbook Ventures. And he's got a book out, which we got to hear about. So anyway, we don't have a lot of time, so let's just jump right in. So first, Jeremy, please tell us a little bit about your journey from company builder to professor to investor and what you're working on these days.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me, Dan, and Stephanie. It's nice to be here. And I just realized that if it's 11 minutes, that means if you 2x this, like everybody does with podcasts, this is a 6.5 minute bit of time. It's practically a commercial break. You could do this podcast like that. So great planning on your part. I'm excited to be here. I'm kind of all over the place, so I'm going to talk like a fast New Yorker anyway. But what I'm working on is exactly what you said. I'm the general partner over at Textbook Ventures, and that's named because it's an incredible dad joke, if I do say so myself. I love the fact that it's Textbook Ventures because I teach at Columbia, Cornell, and NYU. So I teach entrepreneurship, digital marketing, and because of that, I got to write a textbook. So my mom is very proud. And It's supposed to look like a postcard, welcome to digital marketing. Anyway, that's the third edition. So there's actually people using my textbook in classrooms, plus the irony of writing a paper textbook about digital marketing, not lost on me at all. But hopefully, for those of you who appreciate the old school, a nice hardcover book is good.
Definitely.
Textbook Ventures invests in a lot of things, but some of them are digital marketing. We've got a few digital marketing portfolio companies. I might use one or two as an example. But if you're interested in some of where the ad tech is going, look at GoCharlie in AI, look at Branch Lab in cookieless IDs. We've got a Swim for media bidding. So lots of cool stuff. Happy to share more about them as the time goes.
Amazing.
Well, Jeremy, very cool. I think you're our first professional educator and definitely our first textbook writer on the podcast. So with that background in mind, what would you say are the biggest challenges you've seen in B2B marketing and go-to-market motions overall?
I think you guys will probably agree with this. The biggest problem is there's so much noise out there. It's so easy to do content marketing, create good stuff. It's even easier to create bad stuff. So even if you're creating good content, like a great podcast or a really cool white paper, some data that people really want, how do you cut through the noise with everybody else in their lead nurturing and pounding and automation where it's so hard to know what's a really valuable thing? And that's, I think, the biggest challenge for B2B marketers is really cutting through the noise. I'm seeing a lot more people starting out, quite frankly, with the old-fashioned IRL lead dinner where you invite the right people in the room, you share something with them, that old give to get. And then after that, it doesn't feel like lead nurturing. It feels more like an expert consultation or conversation. So I think cutting through the noise with that authentic voice is really the biggest challenge the best B2B marketers have, because the bad guys will just try to flood the zone, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, we are familiar with that challenge across our clients and with ourselves. We're actually planning a lunch and learn in-person event in September on the 17th. So please join us in New York City.
Excellent.
Beyond that, I mean, what are some of the best tools, tactics, vendors, or campaigns that you've seen helping with that challenge?
Well, I've seen part of what I do is try to keep up on the latest, so I can always use cutting edge, sort of rip from today's headlines ideas. And so the most current things I'm seeing that I like are usually a little bit bleeding edge. I saw an amazing campaign in the last year from Carvana using generative AI video. They made 1.6 million or something personalized videos thanking 10 years of customers. And that would have taken like tens of thousands of man hours. So it was literally something that couldn't be done except in this modern age. That still looks a little trippy, like squiggly video, but it didn't come across as bad. It came across as a very good use of the current tech. The other things I'm really excited about right now are I'm a big fan of the video game world. It's a huge media channel. Teach a boot camp on that in one of my schools. And the main thing people realize is just how much advertising and effective advertising can be available in that environment. So like incentivized mobile ads, or what we call value exchange ads, where if you choose to consume a marketing message from a partner, you get like an extra life for 30 seconds of time in a game. Incredibly powerful. And the consumer really associates positively with someone who gets them out of a jam in a silly game, believe it or not. So these are really incredibly good tools, I think, right now that are underused.
Really good, interesting examples, and interesting to think about how you could apply that in B2B through like gamification or that value exchange. What do you think is something that everyone gets wrong in B2B marketing?
Well, in B2B marketing, I think one of the major things is when I use these examples, just because the environment might feel consumer, every B2B marketer is a person first, right? They got their kids, they've got their friends, they're checking out the same social channels, they're playing Words with Friends or whatever silly game is of the moment. So you can reach these people with good targeting in places that maybe don't seem as business to business. It has to be done with the right tone. Of course, just like it seems sometimes awkward to see a birthday wish on LinkedIn, the environment does matter. But contextually, we know that all the buyers, they have full lives. They're not just going to one little narrow slice or vertical to get information. So I think one of the big misnomers of B2B is you can't reach these people except in very specific environments. If I'm interested in an ad, that's going to cut through the noise way more than where I'm reading it.
Yeah, I think that concept of marketing to the human first is something we hear a lot. And I love how you've connected that into the context here in this case. So Jeremy, if you had one wish for a tool or capability for B2B marketers, what would it be?
The most important thing, I think, from a perspective of the customer is that we get caught up in our lead process, and you can't get something as simple as a price on a website, right? A simple price transparency. This happens all the time in SaaS. You have to fill out an entire form to get a quote. I think that's wasting time on both sides. A lot of people would totally be interested in a product if it's in a certain range. And if it's not, it's just not possible. So why waste the time of the rep who has to then qualify that lead? And similarly, if it's in my range, there's maybe some wiggle room, but people have budgets, and their budgets aren't going to go up 10x just because you got them in your lead generation system. So I think this idea of gating and playing coy with that kind of information is really pretty bad. I also think people forget that B2B is about value, not about technology. And so all these AI companies like sprinkle the word AI around. The best ones that I've seen are actually approaching it from a workflow perspective. They're using AI as the tool to get you from point A to point B. But honestly, if it was a team of elves or a bunch of like people in another country who happen to be more cost effective, nobody cares about the how it's getting done as long as the results are real. So when you're selling the value, the technology is an explanation almost of why that amazing magic you've talked about is believable. But I don't think the fact that you say it uses AI is really the kicker. It all sounds the same to the customer. We all promise the same things. It's about demonstrating the value.
Yeah, I love that. Two just great points. I can't stand the gated pricing. That is just crazy. Like I just know at Octane 11, we just put it right there. Like we want to streamline the whole process of discovery, understanding the product, let the value speak for itself, and just help people make decisions quickly.
I would bet you
Definitely,
get better leads
yeah.
because of it. You probably have much more qualified leads because they know what you do, what it costs, and whether they think it's even something they would be interested in. So
100%. And I think a lot of it's around trust. It's about like you're starting the relationship with like an open, transparent trust instead of like let's just see how we can maximize our value capture from this unwitting customer.
it's like the old used car salesman. What can you afford to pay per month? Well, like I want to know you're my business partner in this and helping me achieve value, not that you're trying to squeeze a teeny bit of extra margin out.
Totally. What would you say is a recent win you've had in B2B marketing or just in life?
Well, aside from all the numerous things my kids did, which make me proud and have nothing to do with me, of course, I actually had one thing happen recently that was pretty nice. When you're a venture capitalist, there's all these lists you can be on, and some of them are about how rich or how smart you think you are. But there was a list I was actually proud to get on recently, and I'm relatively new and I have a small, group of companies. So I made it onto something called the Founder First Venture Capitalist list, and it said that I was one of the most founder-friendly VCs. And since I like to think I'm giving help to these guys, it's nice to see that some of them at least voted for me. So it was really nice. In terms of B2B marketing, I do some work with a nonprofit. I work with a group called the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. And you never heard of these guys, but they're a nonprofit that crash tests cars. So I do at least once a year get to see them wreck an expensive car, which is awesome. They have a whole track and everything. But we worked hard to get their teen driving guide out. And this is now in the hands of a lot more families. It's a selection of the safest cars that you can buy as rated by their crash tests, both new and used. So they're basically, you've got these brand new drivers, and we're trying to get them to think about safety features. And this is a classic difficult B2B value problem, right? The price might be a little more, but it's worth it because it has, I don't know, an airbag or something. Although, those are fairly standard features. So I look at that and I'm pretty happy. There's going to be probably some safer kids because of this.
Well, we got to get a link to that list, and which is awesome, by the way, most founder-friendly VCs. And then to this car safety, we got to get a link to that in the notes. So another question that we like to ask in the spirit of sharing actionable ideas, is there a particular framework for decision-making or time management or measurement or whatever that you like to share with the group? Like, for example, one that I like that I was just using for personal life was like life planning with the 1-7-1 model, where you think about what's your goal for this 1 year, what's your goal for 7 years out, and then what's something you need to accomplish in the next month. So is there any kind of framework that you think would be helpful for people?
I think it's more of a mindset, but if it's okay, I'll share this classic story about somebody puts a bucket out and they fill it up with a bunch of rocks and they say, is the bucket full? And of course the whole class says yes, says okay, and then he puts gravel in there. And they say, now is the bucket full? And okay, now it's full of gravel and rocks. So a few hands raised, even though they know now they're being tricked. And they say yes. And of course he dumps a bucket of sand in there. And now this thing is full of rocks and gravel and sand. And he says, okay, now is the bucket full? And finally everybody says yes. Then he takes a glass of water and he puts it in there. And the point is, you can keep filling up your life with more stuff if it's different pieces and different sizes. And so there's a lot more depth to this story than we can get in right now. But my feeling is you got to really realize that the big rocks are the things that are most important in your life. Once you take care of your health and your family and get in a job that you enjoy going to or doing, the rest of the stuff will fall into place in some way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I also think that if you don't have different parts of your life that are sort of unrelated in a way, and kids are great for making you remember this. When you have a bad day at work and you come home and someone says, Dad, I just got a high score in this game. Totally doesn't care about your day. It gives you a little bit of perspective in a way. And I think being able to have a little bit of separation between the pieces of your life actually keeps you mentally more grounded, because you can have different kinds of good days, different kinds of successes. So I don't buy into any one self-help framework, but I think if you can get a little balance in your life, some people get it through working out, some people get it through charity work, some people get it through a really cool hobby. Whatever it is that gives you an outlet where you can have almost like an uncorrelated feeling of success, I think you're in a good place.
I love that. Well, that's all the time we have for today. 11 minutes goes by really fast, but I learned a lot, and I hope everyone else here did too. Some of the things that we covered, cutting through the noise, the importance of that, particularly in B2B. A great way to do that is those IRL, in real life events like dinners or lunch and learns or something like that. I love the example of AI with Carvana as example. I'm going to check that out. The personalized video. Did you say 1.6 million videos?
It's ridiculous. You should check out their, they made a blog post about it, and some of the example videos are just truly stunning. So.
Well, I definitely got to check that out. A great use for AI. We talked about incentives in mobile ads.
Mobile ads, yeah.
Incentivized mobile ads. I love the idea of in B2B, starting with the person first and reaching people in B2C places. I love the example of Words with Friends. I haven't played that for a while, but I got to check that one out.
You just got to get more friends. I mean, think about it.
I got to get more friends.
It's a real critical element of the game. So
I've got plenty of words. I just don't have any friends. Price transparency. I love that one. I love the thought of no one cares that it's AI. They just care about what's the value and what's the impact. So kind of leading with that, regardless of what's going on behind the scenes. Is it AI? Is it people overseas or wherever? Some of the proud moments, the founder first venture capital list, most founder friendly VC. I love that. I want to check that out, that list. And the nonprofit. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I'm actually number 7 on the list, but
Number
I don't want
7.
to take
All
the
right.
spot away from the guy who earned it,
The
but
most founder-friendly VCs, though. I mean, that's a full
Yeah.
to be on that list is awesome. I would definitely want to check out that list. And then the driving guide for teens and what are the safest cars. I definitely want to check that one out too. And then the rocks in the bucket mindset and thinking, what are your big rocks? There's always room to get more water or fill in the gaps and to get balance into your life. So that's a lot of stuff in just 11 minutes. So amazing. Well, thank you, Jeremy, so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Really
You
appreciate
promised
your
quick
time.
hits. You delivered. I'll send you a lot of links for follow-up and from all those places we talked about. So this was really fun. Thanks.
Yeah, super fun. We'll get them in the notes. And thanks everyone for listening. We got an amazing lineup of B2B experts on deck. So definitely check out more episodes at octane11.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, rockets.